Sahana vavatu, sahanao bhunaktu, sahaviryang karavavahai, tejasvina vadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The section that we're doing now in chapter 18, between 56 and 62, so this means we have one more verse to finish this section. So 56 to 62, we said is devotion to the truth by means of karma yoga. So devotion to the truth. What does devotion to the truth mean? In fact, how many ways are there to devote to the truth? There's many ways. We already know that. There's karma yoga way, there's jnana yoga way, and there's prayer way, there's japa way, there's puja way. There's many ways to devotion to the truth. Specifically, Krishna is taking here karma yoga way to devotion. So when we say devotion to the truth, the next question is, how do we express that devotion to the truth? Because the word devotion is vague, it's abstract. So we have to know, what does the word devotion mean? What do I do? What does my life look like if I am devoted to the truth? Right? Am I doing the right actions? Is this devotion to the truth? Is that devotion to the truth? Is picking up the book, is that devotion to the truth? Is prayer, is that devotion to, and what is more devotional than the other? And we want to know, what is the best kind of devotion? Now, before we answer the best kind of devotion, the question is why? What is the purpose of devotion in the first place? Well, is to know the truth as myself. I am not different from that truth. To be at ease with the world, to be at peace with the world, to remove doubts that we have about experiences, that we have about ourselves, that we have about the world. Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. These three always create doubts. And so therefore, devotion is to help our mind by making it more interesting and more interested in this journey. And that's what devotion is serving us. That is what devotion is for. And before we begin revising the last week, we want to ask, what is karma yoga? Because we said 56 to 62 is devotion to the truth by means of karma yoga. Okay, what is karma yoga? So let's take a simple example. Suppose that you're a doctor and you're doing your duty, okay, doing it really well and helping a lot of people. And people appreciate your efforts. And very popular doctor, well known, recognized, saved many lives, and doing your duty wonderfully. Many accolades, many achievements, many rewards, certificates on the wall. Is that karma yoga? No. What would make that? It's not karma yoga at all. What would make that karma yoga? What would you have to, what one more aspect would have to come in to turn it into karma yoga? Before we answer, why are we turning it to karma yoga? For the sake of devotion. Why is there devotion involved? For the sake of purifying our minds. Why is the mind to be purified? For the sake of understanding the truth that I am not different from it. Going back, what makes karma yoga? What makes that ordinary practice karma yoga worthy? You have to understand a few things. Not change the practice. That is not a question of changing, but understanding. Understanding what? Understanding that all the results that come to me as a result of my acting, coming from whom? Karma paladata, the giver of all in this world. Therefore, we are taking refuge in Ishwaraha. You bring that one more aspect, Ishwara, into the equation. That is what makes it karma yoga. Now, if you think about it, it's actually quite a simple practice. Same skills, same practice, same skills. One more aspect you bring, I am serving God alone. No more my client or my mom, my dad. You bring that one more aspect to whom you're helping, God. Why are we bringing God? We will explain this. There's a logic for that as we continue the verses. Taking refuge that all that is here is God alone. God alone is what makes it karma yoga. Living a prayerful life. What does this mean, to make something a prayerful life? Okay, what is the absence of a prayerful life? Or we could ask the other question, what is inside a prayerful life? What is a prayerful life? Praying about objects? That is not karma yoga. You have to involve, I want to know you, the whole, the one that is free of all blemishes, the one that is perfect in every way, and not just intellectually, holistically, totally, without compromises, without adding my own skill sets inside, without adding my own jiva srishti, and then thinking that I've got it, but it's actually my own stuff, my own projections of what I've gotten. Common mistake. I understood the truth. But what is inside that bubble of understanding? Jiva srishti. Another imagination mixed in with the truth. Therefore, devotion is for the sake of removing this error. And this is whose order? Ishvara's order. According to the scriptures, it said, devote to me and I will take care of the rest. I will take care of everything else, says Krishna. All we have to do is just keep your mind on me. Keep your mind on the Lord. Because whose order is this? The one that has created it, Ishvara. Therefore, Krishna is saying, align with that order. And what's going to happen? You will know yourself. You will know the Lord completely, fully. I promise you, says Krishna, as we will see. So in verse 56, Krishna says, if you do this, you will gain my grace. And then we say the question, what is my grace? Is grace a luck factor or is grace earned? And even if it does seem like luck factor, it is not luck factor. It is earned. Through whose efforts? Through the efforts of the listener, through the efforts of you. Therefore, when we say, wow, they're lucky. No, they're graced. Yeah, but they're graced because of what? Because all of that background action that has taken place that we do not see. We only see the foreground. And we say, wow, they know this. They're so good at whatever topic it is. But what took place in the background? Grueling, hard work. And because of that hard work, there is grace. So what is grace? We said it is ever available and it is always favorable for your self-growth. How to gain this grace? Through self-effort. What kind of self-effort? Aligned with our own personal fancies, raga dvesha, or aligned with, as Krishna is pointing out, devotion by means of karma yoga. What qualifies karma yoga? Go back to the example of the doctor. By understanding all this is going and coming from the karma paladata. Coming back, what else is grace? That which is always favorable for you. Okay, so Ishvara cannot help the lazy. Ishvara literally demands you need to go out there into the field of action and gain that which is important for you. That means we have to know what is meaningful to us and then go after it. Are we here just by accident in this class? No, there was effort involved. Every time we come on, there's an effort involved. It's like, oh, I could be doing so many things. And that is a fact. But by your own efforts, obviously you have to understand the value of a class in order to come to the class in the first place. Now, to understand the value also requires grace, does it not? And how does that understanding take place? By your efforts before that. Starting to inquire, is there more to this world than just what I'm doing? That was also grace. Therefore, all throughout, who's gracing us? The one to whom we are devoting by means of karma yoga. Therefore, what is Krishna saying? Devote to that one because of whom you've come to a place to understand that only that one is worthy of being devoted to, because he alone is everything. And therefore, what else is karma yoga? We said Ishvara Arpana and Ishvara Prasada. These are again technical terms. Arpana just means you're offering responsibly to the altar of God. Offering responsibly, because we just said all that is here is God alone. And to whom am I, God, in the form of this individual, offering back to? To that one. Would you offer a whiskey bottle to the altar of God? Would we offer a flower to the altar of God? Probably. So arpana is you're entrusted, you're a trustee put on this earth by the Creator to give us one more chance to understand who and what we are firmly. And prasada, Ishvara Arpana and Ishvara Prasada, everything is a gift, because as we said, all that is here is God alone. Therefore, everything comes from Him, everything is Him. Therefore, everything comes from Him as a gift before me. So what kind of an effect does this have in our real life? We start to see things with the gentle eyes, no longer harsh or resistance, but there's a one more layer of understanding. This comes from this infallible intelligence that is giving me, that is supporting me, that is leading me to it, to understand it completely as myself. All that is here is God. To that one I prostrate to. That is what karma yoga is. Now this naturally leads to the question, what else is karma yoga? And that's what verse 57, it says it is Buddhi yoga. What is Buddhi yoga? Buddhi yoga is the yoga of intellect. Now the question is, why is karma yoga called Buddhi yoga? Well, because we're involving our intellect as we are thinking like this, as we just described. How are we thinking? We are thinking through viveka. What is viveka? Discriminating. Discriminating what? What is healthy and what is unhealthy? What is healthy right now? What is healthy for the environment right now? Does that not involve the intellect? Of course it does. That's why it's called Buddhi yoga. What else are we using our Buddhi for? To understand drishta adrishta palam. For example, charity. You provide charity to somewhere, something. What kind of results do we get? We get drishta, seen. Someone says, thank you. And you get a good, positive impression from that. Therefore, it compels you to donate next time, to give next time. What's the unseen, the adrishta? Well, that we don't know. That's why it's called adrishta. It's unseen. But this is how the universe works. It always provides drishta, adrishta. The adrishta we don't ever see. The drishta we always see. What is the drishta? Immediate. The emotional high that we get from giving, from doing something good. We all relate with this. But what we don't see is the adrishta. So what is Buddhi yoga? Understanding that even though it may not seem like much is happening right now, by learning, by ascertaining, by contemplating, by ascertaining, by assimilating the knowledge, not much is happening, but so much is happening that is yet to come. It's like a bamboo tree. I heard that a bamboo tree takes a while to grow, to even just to develop its, the first over the ground part. You can see, there's a stem. But what's been happening all along before that stem comes out? No, the roots have been spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading. That was called adrishta, unseen. In other words, the foundation has been building up. And therefore, Buddhi yoga is understanding that no effort ever goes to waste. This is the law of the universe. So we can take reassurance from this. What does this mean in real life? It means next time we think, this is hard, stop and apply Buddhi yoga. What am I not recognizing right now? The adrishta palam. It's like learning a new language. The first 2 years is very, very hard. But only 4 years down the road, you find you're so familiar with it. It's like something so easy about it. Anyone who's had this experience of learning, only 3, 4, 5 years later, it becomes like, this is normal. There's nothing strange about this. This is everyone's experience. This is called adrishta. And then Krishna asks, okay, so suppose we don't apply our viveka, our discriminating, drishta, adrishta, healthy, unhealthy. What's the consequence of this? And then he goes into verse 58 and he gives us a little warning. He pulls out his stick and he says, okay, listen, if you don't apply your karma yoga / Buddhi yoga, what's going to happen? Suppose we choose to slack off. Suppose we don't use our discrimination for drishta, adrishta, healthy, unhealthy. What's going to happen? Krishna says outright, you will perish. And you go, what do you mean I will perish? Well, you think you've understood this knowledge. You think you've understood yourself as not different from the whole. And then upon death, find yourself in a new body. That's what perish means. The body will perish. Not you, of course. The mind will find a new body. Hopefully we'll find the answer next life. So again, Krishna is pointing out to take this journey one bit more serious. Because sometimes we say, oh, great, I've heard so many times the same message over and over and over again. Why should I listen again? I've got it. I've heard you before. It's just more words in different combinations. Every time we talk, there's a new opportunity for exploring your mind, for inquiring new depths of reality. This is how mithya works. There's always more depth to ascertain. Deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. How deep? There's no ending. That is a fact. And therefore, it allows us opportunity to look into our minds when we apply what? Buddhi yoga, karma yoga. And then verse 59, Krishna further gives some logic. Why to sustain our karma yoga? He says, if we don't apply karma yoga, there's only one other option, to withdraw. To withdraw into our little world, a little private world. Like Arjuna wanted to withdraw to where? To Rishikesh. He wanted to withdraw. And Krishna says this is not wise to discontinue acting, to disconnect from the world. Why not? Because then we won't have the chance. Okay, what does going out mean when you go into the world and participate and talk? What does that do? It opens up access points to our unconscious mind. And it is our unconscious mind that defines our perception about ourselves and the world. And if those unconscious notions remain unexplored, unacknowledged, unseen as they are, if they remain unseen, then what happens? What continues dictating our perception of the world? Unconscious mind. Therefore, going into the world gives access points to that unconscious mind, giving us the opportunity to see that, and therefore we can release those obstacles which are limiting us from the way that we are looking at ourselves and everything else around us. That is why Krishna says, do not withdraw. And verse 60 backs this up. He says, why not? And uses the word Swabhava. Swabhava just means our nature will compel us to act the way that we are acting. Did you ever find yourself, someone telling you something, or being momentarily inspired by maybe a biography of someone, and you thought this is a really great way to live? And you did maybe 5 days, it was there. It's like stuck on you. 5 to 10 days of acting like this new person, this new way of being. And now what happened? Went back to default. Now, what is that default to which the person went back to? That is called Swabhava. Therefore, Krishna is saying, don't reject the Swabhava, but work with it. And this is what we call not willing to accept myself. What is this myself that we're referring to when we say, accept yourself, just be yourself? What is this referring to when we say be yourself? It can't be consciousness, of course, but be what? Be your Swabhava. Okay? So in other words, recognize your nature, your triguna composition, and work with it. But don't make it the objective of life. Why not? Verse 61 will point that out further. He says, the Lord is in the Buddhi of all beings. This is verse 61. The Lord, like electricity, is in the Buddhi of all beings. And when this Lord, like electricity, pervades the instrument, the appliance, then that instrument, that appliance starts to act according to how it's designed. When electricity flows through the toaster, it toasts. When the electricity flows through the fan, it fans. And therefore, Krishna says, when Atman, when the self pervades, when this field of existence pervades the instrument, in this case, your body, this body that we're listening through now, when it pervades, when it finds itself in this field of existence, it spontaneously acts. And then Krishna says, like those pots around that wheel that just keep on spinning. Like that, when Atman pervades the mind-body just automatically starts to act helplessly. Therefore, now you have to bring up the question of free will. Who's got free will? Atman or your body-mind? because we always have this discussion, is there a free will? Is there not free will? And some say, you don't have free will. And some say, yeah, you have free will. Now, those who say you don't have free will, what is this word you referring to? Because that's a true statement, by the way, to say you don't have free will. But what is the word you in this case referring to? Atman, the Lord, which is in the heart of all things, the electricity that pervades all appliances. The electricity is just being, innocently pervading. It's not trying to kind of make the fan spin. It just enters the fan and it just spins. It just enters the toaster and it just toasts. But when someone says, you do have free will, and you go, yeah, absolutely. That's also a true statement. What does that refer to? In this case, the you refers to your Buddhi, which is why going back to verse 57, Buddhi yoga, karma yoga, all about applying our viveka, implying there is a mechanism by which it can be decided A from B to C to D. There is a different order of reality that helplessly acts according to its Swabhava in verse 60 and makes choices according to the free will endowed to every jiva when it is pervaded by verse 61, the Lord being in the heart of all. Do you have free will now? No, that's correct. Yes, that is also correct. But you have to understand which order of reality are we talking about? The body-mind, apara prakriti, or the self, para prakriti. Therefore, there's never a yes or a no. The moment someone says yes, and that's it, or no, and that's it, there's probably a flaw in one's thinking, because there is no such thing as yes or no in mithya. It's always relative to something else. So we have to understand both views. So just to give you a simple metaphor for this, suppose I say to you right now, you don't have free will. And you say, this is very hard to contemplate. I think every day, I choose every day, I decide every day. How do I understand this a little bit better? What does Krishna mean when he says you are helplessly, you, the body mind, are helplessly moved by your Swabhava? And you say, well, I have an objection to that. No, I make decisions every single day. This is how I feel. Okay. Just imagine like this. Imagine you, awareness, are able to rise up. I know this is a metaphorical error because awareness does not rise, but suppose as awareness, you're able to rise up. And you're rising right now, rising, and you see your body listening to this, sitting in that chair, going like this as David is going, okay? Crossing your arms, smiling. And you're watching your body right now doing the exact same thing as it's doing right now. And you're just going, oh, look, that's not me. That's just the body sitting there, smiling, listening to this whole thing. The body is doing whatever it's doing according to what? Swabhava, verse 60, according to your nature. It is sitting the way that it's sitting according to Swabhava. Are you doing it? No, it is being done as a mechanical process based on a three-guna composition. Totally, utterly impersonal. And you're still looking, shaking the head, crossing the arms, doing whatever. And now imagine, slowly start to come down. And then you enter that body and suddenly, oh, I am deciding. I am willing. I have free will. I am deciding. I am listening. This is how, when awareness pervades the body-mind, it immediately starts to, due to that intimate connection, starts to think, I, the body-mind, am doing whatever I'm doing right now. And then you go back out. Again, you look from the top down. And that person, suppose, has a heart attack. And you're just looking, oh, okay. And you just bless them. Let me just bless you. And you turn around and you bless someone else. Because you know, as awareness, you have nothing to do with these bodies that are just acting helplessly according to their Swabhava. And this is what Krishna means when says, Lord in the intellect activates the jiva to move and think according to their Swabhava. Who is this Lord? Awareness. But due to that intimate connection, immediately what happens? We think whatever breaks in this body Because I as awareness have, quote, entered it, I think what? I am broken. And therefore, this is knowledge, understanding that even though it seems like it, it is actually not it. It is not a fact that I am just this body, this mind, these thoughts, these psychological conditions that keep on coming and going. What is ignorance? Ignorance is when you as awareness, who are now pervading this body, which is listening right now, starts to aware the mind of psychological problems and goes, I need to fix this person. Oh, this person's got so many issues. And then you go back out and you realize, may you be blessed. May you be blessed. The moment you go back in, oh, I've got things to fix. I need to call up someone. That is called ignorance. Due to that intimate association, we think that whatever happens to this body, whatever psychological issues arise here, I need to fix it. But in actuality, you have nothing to do with this body-mind, zero connection. It's a totally different order of reality. This is what ignorance is. The field of existence that I am right now, which is pervading all our bodies right now, in this entire universe, including insects and cows and tigers, enters one particular, not that it enters, but just by the virtue of being and the body growing in that field of existence, I, from that point of that standpoint, I as existence, Satchit, think it is my problems now. What is Advaita now doing? It is shaking that association up. It shakes it up and recognizes, makes the Buddhi recognize. It seems like that, but it is not the case at all. Therefore, by knowing this, we can start to release this need to constantly try to fix an issue that has nothing to do with whom? You, who are free of all things. So we have two options here. One, address. Look deeper into the mind. Oh, I've got issues. This can last for lifetimes after lifetimes. It never ends. In fact, whatever we fix in this lifetime is a minuscule portion of what is yet to be fixed in further lifetimes. Because we are as beings beginningless. Therefore, we have beginningless sanchita. And only a portion of that sanchita gets released into this lifetime. And we think, oh, I'm doing some fixing. But you're doing nothing. Totally wasting time. So what is Vedanta showing us? Release this need to fix a person that I am not. Because the person is helplessly, mechanically acting according to its Swabhava, according to its samskaras, which are products of many, many lifetimes. Question now comes, therefore, what is the choice that the jiva now has, knowing this? Verse 62. Tameva sharanam gacha sarva bhavena bharata tad prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsyasi shashwatam.
Surrender to him alone with your whole heart, Bharata, Arjuna. By his grace, you will gain absolute peace, the eternal abode.
Surrender to him. Who is surrendering to him? The jiva is. And this jiva that is surrendering to him with whole heart, what's the difference between partial surrendering and whole heart surrendering? What is partial attention versus full-hearted attention while listening to someone? Partial attention is perhaps looking away, thinking, okay, when is this going to end? What is wholehearted attention? Come on, tell me, I'm curious. Tell me more. I want a whole picture. Now, the jiva, wholeheartedly surrendering to him. What is this him? Prarabdha him. What is prarabdha? That which is to turn out will turn out whether we want it to turn out or not. For example, did you know that your life will be like this 5 years ago? Did you have any idea you will be right now, right here with these thoughts 5 years ago? But what did we do 5 years ago? We said, oh, what should I do? How should I do it? Oh, am I in the right place? But here, 5 years later, what's happened? You're here. So in other words, all those things that happened 5 years ago, all of those thoughts about 5 years later were useless. That's called not surrendering. Because 5 years later, you are here. So what does it mean to surrender to him? I'm surrendering to my prarabdha karma. Can't do anything about the fact how each one of our life is working or turning out every single day. Two partners marry. Do they know if a breakup is going to happen? They don't. And yet what will happen will happen. That is called surrender. Do we know right now if some disease is going to catch us 5 years from now? No. Do we know when we're going to die as a body? No. All of these things that we say no, 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 no to, what is that? Prarabdha karma. What are we surrendering to? To that prarabdha karma. The Lord in the form of that which constantly pushes us and delivers us the results that we do not know and have never even thought of will possibly happen. So knowing this, the jiva has two choices. The choice one, move from what's called impulsive thinking to mechanical thinking, to deliberate thinking, to spontaneous thinking. So there's 4 kinds of thinking. What do we want to do? Move from category 1, impulsive and mechanical. What is impulsive? It's just unconsciously acting. What is a mechanical? It's just doing a basic things over and over. It doesn't require thinking. Moving from that onto category 2, which is deliberate thinking. Deliberate thinking involves what? Including variables like what? To whom am I now giving? As we said at the beginning of this talk, karma yoga. God alone is. That is called deliberate thinking. Doing that long enough until it is spontaneous thinking. If we don't apply in deliberate thinking, what's going to happen? Samskaras will continue thinking for us. And samskaras are always thinking other than the Lord, which at the beginning of this talk we said, to that one I need to worship to purify my mind. This also involves deliberate thinking. What does this involve? Knowing where our limitations are. So if I ask you the question right now, do you know your limitations? Like, what are your limitations? If we don't know, we try to apply effort to those things which we inherently, our Swabhava is not compatible with. Therefore, we waste a lot of time trying to be something that we're not good at. That also involves knowing our limitations. Like, how long can you listen before getting sort of bored or switching off? Do you know that? That is also a limitation. So knowing our limitations and working with them. What makes you happy? Do you know that? What kind of things would you have to do to, sort of empower yourself, to jolt yourself up? Okay, and what does this do? It invokes tat prasadat. It invokes his grace. We have already spoken about his grace. And then prapsyasi param shantim shashvatam sthanam. And doing this, what's going to happen? You shall attain supreme peace. In other words, you shall understand that there is a certain level of control that you have and another level of control we don't have. What kind of control do we not have about what's going to happen in the future? What kind of control do we have? What can we do about what is happening right now? So knowing this, you shall attain my eternal abode. You shall attain tranquil mind. In other words, if you want to say afterlife, videha mukti. So this sums up this section. Let's move on to verse 63 to 66, which will be a summary of the Gita. 63. Iti te jnana makyatam guhyad guhyataram maya vimrishyai taddasheshena yathechasi tatha kuru.
Thus, this knowledge, more secret than every other secret, has been imparted to you by me. Having analyzed this completely, do as you like.
So the whole Bhagavad Gita is a book of 2 paths. It's a manual for liberation. And these 2 paths, what are they? They are Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And Krishna says in chapter 3, verse 3, he actually confirms this. He says, twofold lifestyles in this world were created by me a long time ago. In the beginning, he says, twofold lifestyles were created by me since beginningless time. And what are these twofold lifestyles that Krishna said in chapter 3, verse 3? The pursuit of karma yoga and the pursuit of jnana yoga. What does this mean? There's nothing else outside this. Of course, you're going to say now, what about bhakti yoga? Well, bhakti yoga, as we said, is nothing but a mixture of karma yoga and jnana yoga. Therefore, there is no separate path called bhakti yoga. It just means devotion. You're devoting. How do you devote? We devote by means of karma yoga. We devote by means of jnana yoga. So this means every other practice in the world can be put under karma yoga that involves action. Anything that involves action is under karma yoga, and jnana yoga is that by which I come to recognize the truth by removing ignorance through pramana, which is knowledge. Is this clear? There's only two paths. So from now on, we can never ever say again, what path should I follow? That's the importance of this statement. There's only karma yoga and jnana yoga. Now in chapter 18, this karma yoga, we said, is sannyasa and tyaga. Now, what is sannyasa? Sannyasa is giving up those actions which are meant to produce a favorable result and that are originating out of our likes and dislikes. So I say that again. What is sannyasa? Sannyasa is applying an action. Out of what is the action arising from? Our likes and dislikes. For what? For those things that we think are important. Never mind what the scriptures say. I think this is important. I think going to nightclubs is important. That's what I'm going to do. And what is sannyasa? Giving that up. But we can't give that up, can we? Because we're always going to be applying actions. So what's left? We can only apply actions that are in service. For what? In service for knowledge, in service for the Lord. Therefore, we're not giving up actions totally. We're just giving up those actions that are meant to serve us alone. This is called selfishness. And what else is karma yoga? Tyaga. Tyaga is renouncing those expectations to always turn out according to our likes and dislikes. I want my partner to be like this. He's supposed to hug me like this. He's supposed to say this. The employees are supposed to treat me like this. The boss is supposed to respect me. So all of these demands that we put onto the society, it says give that up. It doesn't mean that be like a doormat. It just means give up the insistence for favorable results to constantly come into our life. Why? Because in truth, that is not the reality, is it? Because it's disconnected from reality. What we want and what reality gives us, it's a huge gap between that. And therefore, give that up. So sannyasa and tyaga equals karma yoga. Suppose next time you say, I'm supposed to devote. I'm supposed to have a devotional character. I'm not doing puja. I'm not doing rituals. Is this a right statement to say? Considering devotion means a mixture of karma yoga and jnana yoga? No. Suppose you're reading jnana yoga. You're into the scriptures only. And you read in those scriptures and it says, I'm supposed to have devotion. And you say, oh, I don't have devotion because I'm supposed to be doing karma yoga. Is that a right statement to say? No. Because devotion is a mixture of karma yoga and jnana yoga. Just to be listening to the scriptures, to be contemplating is also devotion. Now the verse says, jnanam akyatam te maya. So Arjuna, this knowledge has been imparted to you by me. Since when? Chapter 2, verse 11. Krishna has been imparting this knowledge to Arjuna. Guhyataram akyatam guhyat. Knowing that it's been imparted for so long, don't take this knowledge for granted, because it is the knowledge of all knowledges. That means there's no higher knowledge that we've been learning in the Bhagavad Gita. Vimrshya etat asheshena kuru yatha ichchasi. Arjuna, I don't want to tell you what to do. Instead, I would like you to reflect well on the teaching that has been imparted and do as you wish. These are Krishna's final words to Arjuna. In other words, use your discernment. What is healthy and what is unhealthy? What Krishna is saying is, Arjuna, you've heard enough by now that no one needs to tell you what to do. The teacher doesn't need to tell you what to do. You know already, having heard enough. Why else can Krishna not tell Arjuna what to do? Because universal advice does not apply to all people. I tell you one thing, it only applies to a few, it doesn't apply to everyone. That's why Krishna doesn't want to tell you what to do. You have to make a choice by yourself. So all Krishna can do at this point is what? Pray that the student, having listened this far, knows where things fit and what is the purpose of each sadhana. What is the purpose of Jnana Yoga? What is the purpose of Karma Yoga? What is devotion? And Krishna can also pray that the student puts this into use, because he just said, don't take this teaching for granted. It is the knowledge of all knowledges. You can put all universities in the world that charge $100,000 a year, put them all together. It is still nothing. It is still a minuscule to what we've just learned. Because all that knowledge is going to give you is what? Another birth, another lifetime of more learning, spending another $100,000 on more universities. It doesn't give you limitlessness. Only Bhagavad Gita alone, the knowledge we've learned, gives you infinity. Krishna also is implying something else. He's implying he doesn't want Arjuna to be dependent on him. Wanting to others to depend on you is still samsara. You're not giving them a chance to be independent. The whole point of the teaching is to say, okay, having learned this, use this knowledge and be independent. Be your own Bhagavad Gita. Let's see what else it says in verse 64. Sarva guhyata mam bhuyaha shirnu me paramam vachaha ishto si me dridhamiti tato vakshyami te hitam.
Again, listen to my supreme word, the most secret of all. Since you are very dear to me, hence I shall tell what is good for you.
Reassuring verse just to show us the compassion and the patience of the Lord. He says, I will tell you what is good for you again. So what is the Lord Krishna doing here? He's expressing his love for Arjuna, the student. He says, because I have so much compassion for my jivas in this world who are looking for the truth, I'm willing to again impart a few important teachings to you. I don't want to let you go, Arjuna. I'm worried that you may regress to the old ways. So again, Krishna puts some energy out on the battlefield, says, hey, before you go, I have something else to tell you. It's Krishna's last attempt to get Arjuna to really take this seriously, because Krishna is a little bit worried. Maybe Arjuna is going to regress. Maybe when this discourse ends, Arjuna is going to, do his own thing outside the scriptures. So Krishna wants to reassure and assure that Arjuna doesn't do that. He says, Bhuyaha shirnu me paramam vachaha. Again, listen to my supreme words. Now, why is Krishna repeating this again? Because iti asi dridham ishtaha. So dridham is close and ishtaha is loved or desired. Because you are very dear to me, Arjuna. In other words, you have listened so long, you have listened long enough that I'm unable to let you go yet. I have something else to say to you. Owing to my infinite love, I reach out to you again, Arjuna. Now, in the next two verses, what is Krishna going to say? Because he doesn't want to let Arjuna go. He's going to summarize, finally, Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And this makes up the whole book called Bhagavad Gita. So let's summarize in verse 65, Karma Yoga. Verse 65. Manmana bhava madbhaktaha Madhyaji mam namaskuru, mame vaishyasi satyam te, pratijane priyosime.
Become one whose mind is offered to me, one whose devotion is to me, one whose worship is to me. Do salutations to me. You will reach me alone, I truly promise you, because you are dear to me.
So here Krishna is summarizing Karma Yoga and is taking from chapter 9, verse 34. These are very similar verses, verse 65 and chapter 9, verse 34. Now let's talk about Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? We can divide this verse into two standpoints. One is in reference to devotion or worship. The second one is in reference to Karma Yoga. What does it mean to be devotional or worshipful, to have this yajna? We call it yajna. How do we present yajna? How do we express our devotion? We can do it through prayer. What's the purpose of prayer? It is declaring what matters to you. You wouldn't be praying for something unless it matters to you. And to declare what matters to us, what does that do? It focuses our mind on that. That's what prayer does. It focuses our mind on what we want, and therefore we're much more likely to take the opportunity when it does arise. Puja, we say that puja involves two steps. One is to first offer to the Lord, and the second is to ask from the Lord. Whereas prayer is just asking. So this is the difference between the Indian puja and the Western prayer. The puja has one more involvement. Why would you want to give something to the Lord if the Lord is already everything? Is it because the Lord doesn't have? The Lord doesn't have a flower. No, because it makes you more invested when you give something. And when we're more invested, we're saying, this is really important to me. The more work, the more seriousness. The more seriousness, the more likely we're willing to follow up. Whereas prayer is just saying, okay, give me this. We're not saying that prayer is in a lower or higher manner. It's just that it's an idea. It's something for you to think about. Before praying, rather first give, like a flower, put it on an altar. Just put it on a book or a piece of paper, if puja is not that familiar to you. Japa, what is japa? This is repetition of a syllable or a mantra. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. It focuses the mind. The erratic mind that wants to go left and right and up and down, it focuses it. And it works really well for those who have practiced japa. Very simple. Close eyes and follow one mantra that is meaningful for you. You can say Aum. Aum, Aum. A represents the waking, U, the dreaming, and the deep sleep. And every time you say Aum, you're contemplating. Okay, so there is the three states, and then there's a silence. I'm the witness of the three states. And again, Aum, three states, I'm the witness of the three states in that silence. And then again, Aum. You do that for 5 minutes and your mind gets very focused. Pranayama, this is breath control. This is another brilliant way, just like japa, to tame the erratic mind. Pranayama. We can use different breathing patterns. You can even do it while at work. Suppose you cannot close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And then slowly just release. And then again. And then continue, just to ground yourself from all of that hustle and bustle, from that busyness. We got Danam. Danam is charity, giving anything you have, giving your love, giving your support, giving your resources, giving things that we don't need. If we got too many things, just give it away to those who may need it. It makes us happy also. We've served someone. We've given it to Ishvara. We've got reading about or watching the glories of God. Mahabharata, there's documentary, there's series on this on YouTube. We've got Ramayana, or anything that brings out those values of Dharma. This is another brilliant way to keep your mind on the Lord. Dhyanam, meditation. We say there's closed eyes and open eye meditation. Whichever way is preferable, this is your choice. Krishna says, I don't want to tell you what to do, because at the end of the day, you're going to do whatever you want to do anyway. Swadhyaya. This is self-study of the Bhagavad Gita. This is understanding the vision of oneness. Understanding what specifically? It's always three pillars: Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. Jiva is the three bodies. Jagat is the five elements. And those five elements and everything in this world further resolves into what? Space and time. If you want to understand what is space and time, just think of space as distance, that which allows a tree to grow a certain length. Because of what? Because space is there. And what allows it to grow? Time. Everything resolves into space and time. We analyze these five elements. And space and time itself is what? It's a thought. Where is there space and time unless there is a perceiver of changes, which is what we call time, a perceiver of that which has distance, which we call space. So even space and time is a mere concept. Not only is it a concept, but space is, time is. They both also enjoy that isness, that existence, that Sat Chit. Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. We said Ishvara is always two natures, higher nature and lower nature. Paraprakriti, aparaprakriti. Consciousness principle, or the three gunas, which make up this universe. Spirit, matter. Now, in reference to Karma Yoga devotion, we said actions. What about actions in Karma Yoga? We said we cannot give up actions. We can only give up what? Prohibited, nishiddha karmas. Prohibited actions. That is the only thing, control that we have in reference to actions. We also said when it comes to duties, it is better to do your own duty that is mediocre than someone else's duty that is well done. Why? Why is it better to do your duty that is mediocre, may not be that flashy, that amazing, than someone else's duty that is extremely well done? If you do someone else's duty, are you involved? Is your whole heart into it? You're doing it for someone else. There's no real care, no real effort put into it. It may be done very well, but how healthy is it for your well-being? Is it making us happy? And if we're not happy, we take that home, that unhappiness, and then it affects our family. So doing someone else's duty well done usually turns out to be very mechanical in nature. You can easily put microchips in a circuit board. You know, I'm doing someone else's duty very well, and just keep on doing this all day. You've done it well, 10 out of 10. Or your own duty, your own nature, but it's not that flashy. It's mediocre. At least when it's your own duty, you learn. It's meaningful. There's context. I made a mistake. I need to sculpt and improve my character. But it's someone else's duty. If we make a mistake, what happens? We don't care. It's like, oh, I did my part. Therefore, align yourself to your duty. Question: how do we balance our duties with the demands of the world? You know, everyone wants our attention, right? Nowadays, family wants attention, teachers want attention, students want attention, children want attention. How do we balance our duty with the demands of the world?
You would do the tasks in the world with the Karma Yoga spirit.
Excellent, excellent. So what does this mean now? It means to do tasks with the Karma Yoga spirit. It means understand this person is a mere instrument of God. Does not belong to I. So no longer is it, oh, you know, I am a dad, I am a father, I am a mother, I am this, I am that. I'm just an instrument. That is good enough. This instrument is not mine. It's given. Now, if you work from this standpoint, it offloads that performance anxiety. I've got to perform here. You're just an instrument. Let yourself be an instrument. In verse 61, what did the Lord say? Lord resides in the heart of all beings. That includes your body. You're just an instrument. It reminds me of chapter 2, verse 11. Krishna said, do not grieve for these people because they're not worthy of being grieved. Why is Krishna saying this? Who was Arjuna grieving for? The bodies, mere bodies. And Krishna is saying, the Lord resides in the heart of all beings. And you're grieving for other than the Lord. You're grieving for mere instruments that are there acting according to their nature and can't help themselves. To those you're grieving, Arjuna. You're not grieving to the real entity, if you want to call it an entity. For mere instruments that come and go, come and go, come and go for eons, millennia, coming and going. So see them as mere instruments, Arjuna, instead of my guru, my grandsire, my Drona, my Bhishma. As some instruments make unwise decisions, as did Drona and Bhishma. And also start to see, as David was saying, Karma Yoga, what else is Karma Yoga? Start to see all things are coming from this vast, infallible, intelligent order. All we can do is just surrender, be an instrument according to our Swabhava, our nature, and get the work done, whatever is required of us. Just get it done. What do the rest of us do? We use spirituality to bypass this fact. We work on ourselves, work on ourselves. No, you don't understand. I can't get involved. And what is Krishna saying? Get involved because your nature compels you. And what does a spiritual person say? No, I can't get involved because I've got so many issues to resolve. It's just delaying what Krishna is saying. Be an instrument and do your work because you're not the instrument anyway. So who are you fixing? Now let's see what the verse says. Mat manaha. Fix your mind on me. How do you fix a mind on something so abstract? Fix your mind on the Lord. Okay, how do we fix the mind on God when God is everywhere? You have to know something. What is Ishvara? We said, Upadana Karanam, Nimitta Karanam. What is Upadana Karanam? The material that makes up everything, including your brain right now, that says, I want to experience God. That very brain that's trying to experience God is God, because God is Upadana Karanam, material cause, and Nimitta Karanam, intelligent cause. What does this mean? It means that all materials in this world are, well, material. And what is Ishvara? Upadana Karanam. And all those materials enjoy what? A function. They're put and held together with a purpose. What kind of purpose? We use a typical example. We said, like the atom model. We say there's a proton and there's a neutron. You put them together and you have an atomic nuclei. Okay, just an atomic nuclei. Think of atomic nuclei made up of protons and neutrons. And you put an electron around it, just spinning electron, and you call that an atom. But then you say, I want to make cellulose, which is what makes up wood, because cellulose is a molecule. You say, what is cellulose made of? Well, it's made of 6 carbon, 10 hydrogen, 5 oxygen. Now the question is, why is it not 11 carbon or 20 oxygen or 13 hydrogen? Because if it was one number out, it would not be cellulose. Therefore, it would not be wood. So who makes up that number? Who makes up that speed of sound is 340 meters per second? That's 1,100 feet per second. Who makes that up? Why is it not 5,000 feet per second? Who makes up that gravity will be so much as we're experiencing on Earth? Why is it not more or less? Who makes that up? Who makes up the process of precipitation? Who makes up how far the Earth will be from the sun? Why is it not further? Why is it not closer? That's called Nimitta Karanam, intelligent cause, that because of which all things enjoy a perfect function because of what they are made of and how they are made. And how are they made? They're made by the material, Upadana Karanam. Now tell me this, when are you and I not experiencing material? Are we ever not experiencing material? No, your skin is material. Your eyes that are looking at this is material. You look at a tree, that's material. The sun is material. The heat is material. The light is also material, just subtle material. A thought is material, very subtle material. Fix your mind on me. What does this mean? All materials are God. air that's being breathed right now is material. How do you fix your mind on me? We have to understand, what is it that I'm fixing my mind on? Upadana karanam, the material, and nimitta karanam, the intelligence, which puts that material, and therefore that material enjoys a function that it does. That's how we fix mind on me. So next time we go out, are you just going to see a tree from now on? Or are you going to see material? And when you see material, you go, this material is Ishvara. That's model one, how to fix your mind on me. The second way to fix your mind on me, this is more Jnana Yoga oriented, is you say, step one, you start to inquire, what is the same with all thoughts? Every thought, what is the same about every thought? It comes in time. It has a tone to it. It has a duration to it. It has a quality to it. There are objects inside that thought. What else is common amongst every thought? Well, they're an object. Well, there's probably some emotion involved inside the thought. So all thoughts are the same, right? In that aspect, not that they're not the content same, but all thoughts enjoy a certain sameness to it. They all come in time. They all have a tone to it. They all have emotion. They all have objects in it. They all have visuals and feelings and sounds and sights. That is what's the same with every thought. Any disagreement so far? Even to disagree right now or to agree, is that a thought? That's also a thought. We just said every thought comes in time. That's step one. So you recognize what's the same amongst all thoughts, as we just explained. And then in step two, you say every thought, you put all of that inside what kind of bubble? Apara prakriti bubble. The lower nature. It is an object, matter. Step three, you ask, what presence is still true now as it was before the thought came? I am the knower of it. Is it not true? The thought, you were there before the thought came. You're still there while the thought lasts. And I still am after the thought goes. Step four, you claim that as yourself. I am this very existence, awareness, presence that remains in and through all thoughts that are under the category of what? Step two, apara prakriti bubble. So step one, what's the same amongst all thoughts? They come in time, they all enjoy a certain sound, emotion. Step two, put it in the category of apara prakriti. Step three, recognize what is the same presence that is the same in and through all thoughts. What is that which is most familiar throughout all time? I am the knower of all things. Step four, claim that as yourself. I am that very presence right now, because of whom this thought called apara prakriti pops in and pops out. In whose presence? Someone else's presence or your presence? Your presence. That word your is called para prakriti, the consciousness principle.
Step one is see all thoughts as material. Step two, see all material as part of Ishvara.
Okay, good. It's apara prakriti, the lower.
And step three, see that there are similarities of all thoughts, of they all have the same quality, or all have isness or being, or
okay, and that
and then the fourth is see that as the same as your nature. It's your existence and awareness.
Okay, so this is so what Lloyd just said is just a little different approach. He said that the nature of all thoughts is isness. Thought is whatever thought, it enjoys existence, and that existence is not different from my own existence. So Lloyd took a different approach, but it is still correct. Why am I saying this to you right now? Because we need a backup model to deal with our thoughts. If we don't have a model, what we're going to do? We're going to take a psychological approach, try to address every thought, identify with the thought, identify with the thought, identify with the thought. One has to eventually come out of this constant need to get involved in one's thoughts, because I tell you over and over again, you have nothing to do with this person. Zero. That's what moksha means. We can't just speak about moksha and then On the contrary, go, oh, you know, I've got so many problems. I need to look at them. That's what it means to own up to your true nature, to stop in constantly worrying about what this person is thinking, still solving it, but there's a reassurance that I am not this. Mat yaji, be my worshiper. So in other words, take to noble actions, contributing to the well-being of others. How? Prayers, puja, yajna, tapas. Yajna, danam, tapas. We already spoke about this. Namaskuru mam, surrender to me. How? How do we surrender to the Lord?
Surrendering the fruits of my actions.
Good, that's karma yoga option, or by the means of jnana yoga. Eshyasi mam eva satyam pratijane te. Do all of this that we just said, and I promise you, said Krishna, you will reach the highest. You will reach the truth. Now, when Krishna, the Lord of the universe, makes a promise, you bet it is 100% true. There's no lies here. There's no trickery here. You know, when a human being makes a promise, we're kind of skeptical. You know, are they really going to follow up? But when the Lord makes a promise, you bet it's going to be fulfilled. Okay, next verse, we'll talk about Jnana Yoga summary. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyaha moksha yishyami ma shuchaha.
Giving up all karmas, take refuge in me, the non-dual alone. I will release you from all karmas. Do not grieve.
Okay, so this is the final teaching verse in the Gita. So everything after this is no longer teaching, it's just closing. And this final teaching verse of the Gita summarizes Jnana Yoga implicitly through an implied meaning. And it's also the most misinterpreted verse. So if this verse gets interpreted wrongly, then the whole Gita ends up being incorrect. However, it is at the same time most misinterpreted. Why? Why is it the most misinterpreted? We'll see now. For example, it says parityajya sarva dharman. Renounce all dharma. Goodbye. Renounce all dharma. Goodbye. What are you going to think now? Renounce all dharma. Oh no. On top of that, what does dharma mean? It's got several meanings. One, it means God. Two, it means the nature of a thing, like the dharma of fire is heat. It means duties, renounce all duties. It means practices, renounce all spiritual practices. It means renounce all ethics. So what are we supposed to think about this? Renounce all dharma. First misinterpretation. Or vraja mam ekam sharanam. It says, seek me. What is this me? Krishna. Seek me as your shelter. Now, what are people going to think? Okay, so seek Krishna alone. Don't seek Buddha. Don't seek
anybody else. Don't seek anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, this is where you have different institutions get born because of this one single line. It says, you see, seek Krishna alone, full stop. So we need the help of Adi Shankara, and I will bring some Adi Shankara's commentaries to answer this. So let's see. Parityajya sarva dharman. Renounce all dharma. Okay. So first of all, don't take this literally. It is implied. Now, what do you mean by dharma? That's the first question. Now, suppose dharma means noble actions, right? Renounce all noble action. It means renounce all punya karma. Okay, so renounce all vachikam, manasam, kayikam, renounce all good speech, good physical actions, renounce all, how else should we say, all good mental thoughts. So renounce all of that. Okay, we're worried, right? Renounce all wonderful, intelligent thoughts. Now, in this case, you must also add what? You must also add renounce all adharma. So this is what the student is now doing. You're adding something else. The question is, why are you adding? Where's the permission to add this? Because in chapter 16 and 17, what does Krishna say? Renounce asuri sampat. Renounce all adharma. Therefore, now it says, renounce all dharma and all adharma. In other words, renounce all punya, papa, karma. Now, what produces punya, papa, karma? Your actions. So what is Krishna saying now? Renounce all actions. But then an objection comes. How can I renounce all actions when you just said throughout the whole Gita that actions cannot be renounced? Chapter 3, verse 5, Krishna says, no one, even for a second, can remain without actions because your nature compels you to act. We just said the same thing in chapter 18, verse 11. You see the contradiction? So even if we answered now dharma and adharma, we still haven't resolved the contradiction. Can't give up all actions. And that's why you have to bring the whole Gita into perspective to answer this. To what does the karmas belong to? To the body, mind, intellect. Nagesh?
Yeah, I was going to say that I think he's trying to say that they give up your ego.
Give up your ahamkara, give up your body, mind, intellect. So long as I is identified with the body, mind, intellect, then can you truly give up dharma, adharma? No, because you are that which does dharma and adharma. So what's the only way to give it up? To give up dharma and adharma, punya papa? What's the only possible way? By recognizing that the self, that I am other than that which does the punya papa karma. So what's the summary so far? Just to put it from another angle. What is this verse saying? Renounce the body, mind, intellect, which is what creates the punya papa, what generates the dharma adharma. Renounce the body, mind, intellect, which is what generates the dharma adharma. But then a new objection comes up. So we still haven't resolved this. How can the self renounce the body, mind, intellect if it is not the body, mind, intellect? If I was never the body, mind, intellect, how can I renounce the body, mind, intellect?
Can we swap renounce for disidentify?
Good. Okay, that's much closer. So you're not renouncing, or you're not renouncing the body, mind, intellect. What are you doing? You're disidentifying, removing the notion that I was the body, mind, intellect to begin with. In other words, we are removing the notion or the ignorance that made self, that means I think that I was the body, mind, intellect. But then a new objection comes up. How can a self think when a self is not a mind that has personal thoughts, an entity that has personal thoughts? How can a self think? Well, it can think if it's associated to the body, mind, intellect owing to ignorance. In that way, it can think. Because from the standpoint of ignorance, it is I, the self, who is thinking, right? Therefore, we are removing that notion of ignorance. And by that, Krishna means to say, you can renounce dharma and adharma by disidentifying from the body, mind, intellect. Okay, let's see what it says. Vrajamam ekam. Reach me, Krishna, the non-dual. What does this word me mean? Three standpoints. Ekam, that means ekarupa, that means a personal God, like Krishna, like Vishnu, like Allah, like Jesus. Me can also mean a Vishwarupa. The Lord is in everything, in all forms. We call this Vishwarupa, Anekarupa. In chapter 11, we said God is in all forms. Me can also mean Arupa. That means the non-dual, Nirguna, Nirguna Brahman, Paraprakriti, the one without a second. So what is, when it says reach me, the Arupa, the non-dual. How does a jiva approach this non-dual, all-pervading one?
Negating almost everything.
By
negation.
By negating the idea that I am away. So we are removing the notional distance that we are away. That is how you quote reach the all-pervading non-dual one. By virtue, he is all-pervading. He is right here, right now. What do I as a jiva have to do? Have to remove the notional distance that I am away, that the worshipper is away from the worshipped. And we do that through Jnana Yoga. Therefore, when it says surrender, when it says reach me, that means surrender to me. What are we doing? We're dropping the notional distance that we are away from him. How do you do that? Chapter 4, verse 34, by asking the proper questions, the wise ones will teach you. And then we got an objection. How can we say that surrender means reach me through Jnana Yoga when surrender always means, in most cases, surrender to an Ishtadeva? So now we can go back to the original question. How do we know if the one, that Ekam, is referring to Dvaita or Advaita? How do we know that? You see the question here? Because it says, reach me the one. How do we know if it's referring to Krishna or if it's referring to the all-pervasive God, irrespective of the name? That's an objection being posed right now. Well, number one, Vedas declares that God alone can be reached only through knowledge. And what's the purpose of knowledge? To remove a notional distance that there is an Ishtadeva, that there is a Krishna over there, that there is a Lord over there. Upanishads also declares, very interesting, that there's only one other way to attain moksha besides Jnana Yoga. What the Upanishads say is, to attain moksha without self-knowledge, you have to roll the sky like a mattress. That is the only other way. If you can roll the sky like a mattress, you will attain moksha. Is that possible? I don't know. You tell me. Several verses in the Gita, chapter 4, verse 33. What does Krishna say? Jnana is superior to yajna. Every action culminates into knowledge.
Jnane parisamapyate.
Good. Chapter 7, verse 11. All these, you have to fill in the blanks, all these are certainly noble. All these ajnanis, karma yogis, doers are certainly noble. But the wise one, you have to fill in the brackets, the one who just removed the notional distance, the wise one, the jnanin, is myself. So there's no difference between the Lord and the jnani, the jivan muktaha. What is the benefit of assimilated knowledge? Mam ekam sharanam. The limitless one, Brahman, alone becomes one's only refuge. Okay, one takes refuge in that one who is free. Who is that one who is free? You are. And why is Brahman alone the only refuge in the universe? Because Brahman is not stuck within space and time. Therefore, he is eternal. There's no question of being reborn in time. The whole journey is really, in essence, just getting out of space and time. The big problem is space and time, actually. It's called samsara. Aham tva moksha vishyami. Doing this, moksha, I shall release you from all past sins. I shall liberate you from both merit and demerit. You don't want merits either. Why not? Because merits only give us punyam, and punyam generates a new body. It's just iron and gold shackles. You want to release yourself from the shackles.
It talks about Gatagatam in chapter 9, right? Even if you do punya, you go back to heaven and hell all the time. It's unending traffic.
Yeah, indeed. You're still in the cycle of just getting better worlds.
Yeah.
I remembered you said you want freedom. You don't want freedom for the doer. You want freedom from the doer.
From the
I
doer.
think about that a lot.
Yeah, this is a very powerful statement.
I like that.
You want freedom from that person that's travels everywhere.
I like Nicholas, but I'm exhausted by him.
Yeah, you're finding the limitations of Nicholas.
Yeah.
Okay, so next week we will cover the next section, which is Krishna's final remarks to Arjuna.
The basic idea of all this, what we understood throughout the Gita is there's nothing can be done through the body, mind, and karma yoga and all the devotional yajna, japa, all this is done through body, mind, and intellect. So that's not the way to understand who we are ultimately. So it's the knowledge is the one that awareness gives us, not to look outside but inside. This is who we are. Is that what it says?
Yes. So it's saying that karma, you see, to get to that place, to recognize that it's not outside but it's inside. To get inside. yeah, to get to that place, you have to align yourself to Ishvara's order, which suggests to purify the mind, which thinks it's always outside. That's our natural inclination. You even talk to kids, God, God is over there. That's the natural inclination for everyone, right? Everyone has this.
Yeah, so for all the outside thing is always using your body, mind, and intellect. You cannot do anything outside us without using that faculty.
Well, that's the irony.
Basically, so this is what we need to throw away completely.
That's the irony. You use the body by taking care of it and treating it well, only to realize that it's generally a throwaway. Because it really is not you. I mean, the implications of this statement, what it means that you are not your body mind, are massive. They're just incredibly huge and deep. Until that is understood, the person really is going to find ways to just keep on identifying with these thoughts, and that is not what moksha is. Okay, so the implications of moksha are enormous. Okay, and again, it's not a matter of experiencing yourself being other than the body. It's just through knowledge, recognizing that, even though the body experiences all sorts of conditions all day long, all year long, all life long, inherently, I'm always the watcher of that. Inherently, I'm always the free of that. And that's huge implications of that. And that's freedom, like genuine freedom, knowing that. It's not just, oh yeah, great fact, wow, good. But there's a relief, a great relief that comes from that. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.